Hello, random viewers and subscribers in between. My name is John Green, and welcome to a third episode, surprisingly enough, of my stop motion podcast. And we have another amazing special guest with us today. Go and introduce yourself, my man.
Hello, it's me, your close personal friend, youtube.com/MootroidXproductions. Charlie Rose is my name. Also, John Green, I'm a huge fan of your books.
Oh, thank you. I'm not the writer, but I'll take credit. Right on. And
Yes.
yeah, alrighty. And I actually wanted to invite him here today because I wanted to give more insight in other independent stop motion animators who actually went further into the animation industry, did a lot with the animation style individual. But first, so Mootroid, first off, what started you on your path of stop motion? What was the what got you hooked on it?
Well, usually the story you hear is like, oh, I saw Nightmare Before Christmas as a kid, or I saw like Jason and the Argonauts, and I wanted to do that. But I barely remembered any of those at the time. So I'm not an athletic kid. I don't really like going outside or doing sports, so I hated going to camp. But I guess my parents wanted me out of the house, so we found this week-long nerd camp, like tech camp, called Classroom Antics, and I had the choice of working on Lego Mindstorms, game design, or stop motion. So on day one, I tried out some game design. It was kind of fun, kind of boring. On day two, I tried out stop motion. On day three, I tried out stop motion. On day four, I tried out stop motion, and now we're a few thousand days in, and I haven't stopped yet.
Wow, okay, right on. So a simple beginning, right on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any old footage of the first things you ever animated?
I actually do, yeah. I could send a file over to you, or there's it's up on my YouTube channel right now with the very on the nose title, "My First Ever Claymation."
Oh, right on. I'll make sure to leave a
It's
link for that.
yeah, yeah, all right.
Okay,
It's not great, but it's pretty cute to look at.
it's the start of something awesome. All right, right on.
Mhm.
So I follow you on Twitter, and I have seen a few months back that you actually got a invite to work with Stupid Buddy Studios, the same guys responsible for Robot Chicken. What was that experience like?
That was actually fantastic. So there's a whole story there. It happened right out of college. The whole time I'd been working on this like 2-3 minute short, Pikachu versus Godzilla. It's quite silly. It's a big buff Pikachu man beating up an army of Godzillas in a city. While I was working on it, everyone was like, "Who is this for? Who's going to watch this?" You know. But then I finally uploaded it like a winter after graduating, and it kind of blew up online. It's like it. I put it on Reddit, for instance, and I guess in the Reddit economy, it did incredibly well. It got something like 200,000 upvotes. And so it started spreading online, and thanks to that, a representative from Stupid Buddy reached out and contacted me unprompted, saying, "Hey, I liked your video. You want to work for us?" So, I mean, I guess it kind of paid off. You know, I was literally like sitting playing video games when I got the email. Didn't apply or anything. Then the work itself was amazing. It's it's the first time I ever met a stop motion animator in real life, and there were like 20 of them. It was fascinating. Like we all knew the trade. You know, I could talk to people and they would understand what I'm saying. It was weird. The work itself too. I mean, it is stop motion. I can go into detail later if you want to know more, but it's simultaneously exactly what you expect and a little different from what you'd expect. But overall, extremely positive. I loved it.
Wow, right on. Now, while you were there in Stupid Buddy Studios, um, I also saw on your Twitter that you actually met another fellow content creator, another internet animator as well. I think he works with Legos primarily. I forgot his name, but another talented guy. What was that like for you?
Oh yes, Forest Fire 101. I've Yeah, best known for his Lego Batman videos. I actually first saw his Lego Captain America videos. Those are excellent. It was day one when I met him actually. So there were three new guys walking to the building for orientation. I'll change one guy's name. I'll call him Steve. So I'm walking with the two other guys. I'm like, hey, who are you? And he's like, hi, I'm Steve. I'm like, hi, I'm Charlie. How are you? Then the other guy's like, hi, I'm Forrest. And I say, wait, it's you. So that was how I met Forrest. Like, it was weird, like a childhood hero just walking there, a real person, you know.
Wow, right on.
It was pretty cool working with him. I didn't see much of him. He was working on, like, usually on the other side of the building. But like when I did actually talk to him, it was great to talk about, like, you know, frustrations we had with different projects going on back home, YouTube gripes, you know.
Wow, okay. What? It's just kind of funny. Like, you walk in, the whole story itself, you were just reached out because of that amazing Pikachu versus Godzilla. And then, like, domino effect. You meet one of the animators you saw on the internet that you admire. It's like, holy crap, I'm working with it. That's awesome. Speaking of animators, I don't know if you delve much into, like, and I'm just being what's this, dramatic here when I use the terms, but how deep are you in terms of, like, the history behind the stop motion animation genre? Like, do you know any of the big names prior, like William Gale Vinton, Peter Lord?
Okay, so I'm pretty well familiar with, like, its genesis, like with Willis H. O'Brien. Like you know, very first couple guys. But like sort of the mid range, I only know a few selection names. Like I know Phil Tippett, the guy who did Star Wars, and Mad God.
Oh, you've seen Mad God?
I have not seen it yet. I'm very excited to, though. I've been following it for a while.
I actually just recently got access to Mad God. He has it on his site where you
Oh yeah.
you sign up with the site, and then you there's packages to see parts 1, 2, and 3. Of course, I bought the first 2 parts, and let me just tell you, it's animated beautifully. The way that Phil Tippett just tells the story, it's all silent. It's just like a visual storytelling of seeing this one person travel through this ungodly world, like the 7 rings of hell or some shit.
Yeah.
And everything from, like, the gore to it's just insane. I can't even put it into proper words. But seeing it, you're gonna get the vibe that Phil Tippett is definitely one of those guys that thrive on, like, shock, how am I supposed, not shock humor, although there is a lot of that. But let's just say it's incredibly graphic. Like, Phil Tippett holds nothing back, and it's all animated beautifully. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, just the opening visuals that I saw, like, you know, some teaser images, maybe a little bit of a trailer. Like it is gorgeous. It speaks to me on some level. I'm really looking forward to checking that out. It's been a long time coming.
You're definitely gonna love it. Another stop motion animator that I take personal inspiration from. You actually might have heard of him. Justin Rasche. You ever heard of him?
Oh yes, yeah. I've been following him for a while. His work is unbelievable. It's some of the cleanest, most realistic animation I've ever seen, and it's even like relatively low frame rate. He just has a flawless understanding of physics and body mechanics.
He does. He truly does. It's incredible. I first came across him when I heard about him for animating the Christmas stop motion specials for Overwatch. I was like, oh, okay, this is amazing. Who's this guy? And I look into him. Apparently, he's been around for the longest time. I think, matter of fact, you know how Phil Tippett also did the unused effects for the Jurassic Park movies?
Oh, right.
Yeah, apparently, I think Justin Rasche, I believe, if I'm getting my information correctly, he wasn't there for it, but he definitely studied around the same time as that came out. And I think his first gig was I'm trying to remember. Because he has a YouTube channel. I'm going to link that as well. And he goes into his genesis of how he started in stop motion. Very inspiring. Like, you get a whole perspective seeing it from, like, a guy who grew up from the earlier stages of, like, 2000 and early 1990s. It was so different back then. They didn't have the technology we have now, so it was definitely a lot more interesting experience for him. It's like, holy shit, all those hoops and hurdles just to get to this point. Like, we're lucky. We just have the internet now. You just throw your stuff out there, and then boom, you get noticed immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, YouTube stop motion tutorial done.
Mm-hmm. And another thing about stop motion tutorials, I think you might have noticed it too. I'm just assuming here, but I started stop motion back in 2015. The very first stop motion thing I ever saw on the internet was actually from a very talented animator from Taiwan named Counter656, and I was
Oh,
like,
yes.
yeah, when he just came out, the way he did it was just so creatively silly, and I loved it. I was like, I want to do that. But around that time in 2015, there were hardly any tutorials. Like, I literally went through like digital books, articles. I even went so far as to like research through libraries when that was still a thing. I mean, they still are, but who goes to libraries these days?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm very happy with the growth of like the stop motion community nowadays. Like, you got a lot more tutorials. There's a lot more people getting invested in it. But yeah, it's just awesome to hear stories like that of how anime just started out. All right, so once you made your YouTube channel and everything, how many paid projects have you done, and what was that experience like?
Oh man. Okay. I think I can count Robot Chicken as one. So that was my first real studio job. In addition to that, let me see here. My first paid commission gig, like one-time commission gig, was making a stop-motion e-card, like an e-card video for my college. They got a really good deal on that one. Looking back, I kind of lowballed myself with the price. That was a lot of fun, actually. Like, I spent maybe an hour or so brainstorming with the client. Went and worked on a quick little storyboard, gathered all my materials. Once they approved of how everything looked, I just started animating. The biggest time sink I realized was in the fabrication. So from that point onward, I decided I should start charging expenses for materials. I should start charging hourly compensation for fabricating characters and sets. Then once I actually started animating, it was about 3 days, and maybe like another 2 days to edit. And at that point, it was done.
How long was the ad?
Oh, it was only 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a relatively low frame rate too, and I could use the same background over and over again. Lots of quick shots, but they were all fairly simple.
Oh, right on, right on. Do you also have that video on your channel?
Yep. That one's called Physics for Penguins.
You know, I think I might have seen that actually.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. A little underrated though.
All right.
Then after that, I did another 30-second ad for a friend's video game. He's an indie game designer. The game is called Bombfest. It's actually available on the Switch and on Steam. It's Bombfest. It's a lot of fun. It's a party game where like you play as little block characters, wooden block characters, and you throw bombs at each other and try and knock everyone off the table. It's a good time. That one was quite fun, but animating it was tricky because they were just wooden block characters, and there was a lot I wanted to do in 30 seconds, so it didn't come out as clean as I would have liked. After that, kind of a big gap when I was working on school stuff, and then very recently, I made a music video for a band called Koalra, an indie band, for their song "The Forest Song." I used characters and sets from my original film, The Sky Below, so I didn't have to do much fabrication.
I remember that. That was the follow-up after you released it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Kind of a soft sequel. Not much really happened in it, but it was more of a visual experience than anything else. That was fairly easy to work on, actually, because I only needed about 1.5 minutes of original footage. The rest could be looped, or I could use scenes from the film. Then after that, we got wait, one more. Before that, this was a really exciting one. Hasbro reached out to me ages ago and asked me to make them a video for their Power Rangers Lightning collection. I think it was Wave 2. So I have I think 5-minute video on my channel right now called Red Rescue. That was
I
all made for
remember
them.
that one. That was actually one of the first few ones I saw from you. The one
Oh,
where it's
really?
Red Ranger going in to save the others or something?
Yeah, that's the one.
Wow, okay, cool, very cool. That was paid? I thought you did that for fun.
Oh yeah, that was paid. Yeah.
No kidding.
I had a little disclaimer at the beginning. You might have seen it on a different social media platform, but there's a disclaimer on the YouTube version where it's like, "Hey, they paid me to do this. Product placement."
Ah, okay, yeah, I did see it through Twitter. That's probably how it threw me off. All right,
Yeah,
wow.
that's it.
That one was an ordeal actually, because the deadline came up about a week after my finals. So I had very little time to work on a relatively long video. The last 72 hours were a sleepless marathon, but I animated like 3 minutes in that time. Somehow I just went into a trance. Delivered it on time though. I'm very proud of the final product.
Right on. So that's very interesting though. So for like these companies or commissions and you get reached out to animate for them, there's usually a time crunch. What would you say would be the most reasonable time frame for you to complete, say, like a 1 to 2 minute bit of animation?
Well, depending on my work ethic at the time and what else is going on. All right. Let's say ignore fabrication. Say they just want me to use action figures. I'd probably want maybe. I'm gonna be generous and say like. Oh man, it's tricky now because I'm not. There's a lot of factors. There's like how complex is the animation, what frame rate, how many characters. Let's say it's a fight scene between two characters, straightforward fight scene. In that case, I can use one of my videos, Swordbreaker, as an example. No one paid me to do that. That was just for fun. But that took me about 2 weeks to animate, I think.
Only
But
2 weeks. Wow.
I was going unusually quickly, and the editing process took maybe a week after that. So I'd say, yeah, I'll have to be generous with clients because sometimes they'll have feedback. I'll have to reshoot something. You got to be pretty slow and steady, make sure everything's approved. So I'd say about 2 months for something like that.
Yeah, okay, that's reasonable. That's definitely reasonable enough.
And if they want fabrication, like if they want original puppets and characters, that's a whole other story. That's gonna add a few extra months on there.
Definitely, and a good example that I feel like you should probably look into. Patrick Boyvin. I forgot what foreign country he originates from, but he does a lot of and he doesn't even consider himself a stop motion animator. Funny enough, but he does it so well. Patrick Boyvin. He's a independent stop motion animator, like most of us. And he cranks out like ads like every 2 months. I kid you not. He got reached out to do phone ads, car insurance ads occasionally. Very talented guy. I first came across him, and I think you might know this one. Remember Kung Fu Baby? It's a baby that's dressed like Bruce Lee and he's fist fighting a dragon.
Oh, yes.
That was his
that
work. Another funny thing, that was actually his boy, too. It was like, oh, wow, that's cool.
He made that stop motion Bionicle Stars commercial from 2009.
Yep, that's the same one.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Love that one.
When he was actually the first one in my podcast as well, and I asked him, like, how many ads does he usually make? And it's usually, like you said, in 2 months time, but he would make, like, 2 of them in 2 months' time. It's like, this guy was, like, cranking them out. It was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
If I ever get myself on a real schedule, like, push myself to do it, I could definitely speed up. I tried to give them a generous time frame though, because like there's always going to be something that goes wrong. It's also all pretty DIY still on my end. Like, my studio is a basement. It's kind of unpredictable what abilities I'll have. So I like to give myself some wiggle room in anticipation for the inevitable disaster.
Right. Just in case anything could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of anything that could happen, when you make your own armatures or sets, is there ever like, I remember now, you actually shared a Twitter post one time about how in the middle of you filming your stop motion short film for college, I was The Sky Below, the set fell on you. How many times did that happen?
That did not happen frequently, thank goodness. Usually, if it's going to fall on you, it'll happen while you're still setting it up. So you'll have a chance to cover the whole thing in duct tape. Normally, I like to have the foresight to make it sturdy enough beforehand, but that was an unforeseen error. Some tape just fell off. I did not expect it would. There have been disasters here and there, but typically they're not so bad that I have to cut an entire scene or delay a week. That's probably the worst one I can remember, though.
All right. Any like wardrobe malfunctions or like armatures limbs breaking? How would you go about like fixing those?
Okay, so that's something I tried to avoid at any cost. It's the reason I typically use action figures or ball joint armatures over wire armatures, because those things will wear out eventually. That's okay. The worst one I can remember was Pikachu versus Godzilla. His wrist broke during the tail spinning scene, which was also one of the most mechanically difficult scenes to shoot. And that delayed me for actually several months. I had to work on college stuff in the meantime, but it took me a very long time to figure out how I was going to work the scene out, and had to order a whole replacement body for him too. It did work out eventually. But that was a real bad one, because I basically just killed the character for several months. Let me think here. Some of Ainley's hands did break while I was animating, because those were made with wire with a flexible clay over them. Well, it was a flexible rubber clay. It bakes into a soft rubber.
Amy, I'm trying to remember, who's that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the main character from The Sky Below. My bad.
That's how you pronounce it? I've been pronouncing it as Ainley the whole time.
Oh yeah, I remember that from your reaction video.
Yeah.
I never brought it up. It's actually taken from a Hebrew phrase, Ainli, meaning I have none. So his hands broke repeatedly, but before I started animating, I made like 20 of them, so I always had a replacement.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now. You mentioned that in your behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right on. So you definitely have like you're mentally prepared and have the know-how in case any like malfunctions occur in terms of sets and armatures.
Typically, I'll try to acknowledge that beforehand, like either have replacements ready or build the puppet specifically in a way that like it doesn't have wire that'll wear out, just joints. Usually you want to have like one backup on hand if there's something risky going on.
Absolutely. Alrighty, right on. So moving right along, let me see here. Okay, here's a good one. First off, have you dabbled in any other forms of animation besides stop motion before, or?
Okay, so I have messed around in 2D. It is fun, and I'd like to be better at it, but I'm pretty good at drawing, but I'm not great and I'm not consistent. Like, once I've drawn a character or a shape, chances are I won't be able to reproduce it ever again. So most hand-drawn animation is kind of out of the question for me, unless it's a really loose abstract style or rotoscoped or something. I do a lot of keyframe animation for my special effects, and that is something that I can use to make some rudimentary 2D animations, that mainly for like joke meme videos or that kind of thing. And then I also took a couple semesters of 3D modeling and animation in college, and I do not care for it at all. I feel like I would love it if it weren't so obtuse. Like, there's so many layers of interference between the idea in your head and the character doing it. When you have an action figure, you can just like bend an arm and then the arm does what you want it to do. But for a 3D model, like you need to like switch to the right tool and select the joint, and then select the correct rotation axis, and then adjust the other axis a little, and then adjust the other axis a little bit, then maybe move the chest a little bit as well. It's something that feels more intuitive when you actually have your hands on it. So one of my coworkers at Stupid Buddy actually brought this idea up, if it were possible to 3D animate a model in VR, I would absolutely be down for that. But as the technology stands now, I'm going to let someone else do it.
Ah, okay. Wow, that is actually kind of interesting. I mean, with the rise of VR, VTubers as what they're called, I wouldn't push it past, and then eventually they'll do that. I mean, they already got like custom modded skins and everything for that, and like so it could happen. It could definitely happen. If not, it'll just end up like the high definition version of Donkey Kong Country or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So with that being said, do you believe, in your opinion, in this age, that stop motion animation as not so much a minor medium, but do you believe that stop motion is a underappreciated style in terms of like movie productions or TV shows?
It is extremely underappreciated. It's doing a little better now thanks to the internet because there's more people able to try it, like you said. Like we have like an entire generation of kids who are, making like Lego Minecraft stop motion or whatever. And I love to see that. So people at least know what it is more than ever. But it's still like the one form of animation no one really talks about. Like they'll talk about 2D and 3D and they'll just forget stop motion exists at all. And I'm really not sure how to solve that because there's only like 3 big studios out there, at least for Western audiences. Like you got Stupid Buddy, Leica, and Aardman, and they all have some really specific styles, and their output is fairly frequent, but it's never really been like blockbuster level.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if there were a stop motion Marvel movie, like they just did that show MODOK, Stupid Buddy animated that actually. I had some coworkers who worked on it.
Oh, wow.
Like that was a big name, that's a popular thing. So I feel like if we got more stuff like that, or like a Star Wars stop motion movie, then that would be a huge help.
That would be.
We're still at the stage though where like the average layperson will see a stop motion video online and be like, "Oh, it's Robot Chicken." Because that's all they know.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So if you don't mind, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but are you working on anything currently?
That is a little bit complicated. I'm not currently animating anything, like actively animating anything, but I do have a lot of plans that I'm going to be jumping into like later this week. I have a pretty big music video project coming up.
No kidding. Okay.
I'm not quite ready to announce who the artist is. It's not like a big name that everyone will know, but it is a longtime favorite of mine. It's pretty exciting that this is happening. And I'm really looking forward to getting started on this because it's a really cool concept for a video that I came up with. In addition to that, let me think here. Well, this is a pretty small platform. No offense meant, but I don't think many of my regular subscribers will tune into this, but I might as well announce it here. Before I make The Last Colony Part 3, I'm going to be working on The Last Colony Part 0.
That's right. I remember I saw that tweet. Everybody was tripping about your Colony series. I actually just got done seeing Part 1, and I could see why they want it back. It is really good.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's been a real long time. It's like one of the staples of my life that people will be asking me for Part 3. It's based on this 12-page storyboard that I kind of sketched out in the back of the car once many years ago. So the story is like, it's long since set, beginning, middle, end, it's all pretty clear. The details of how I'll get there have changed dramatically. But it is kind of interesting to me how people keep asking, will there be a Part 3? But it should seem fairly conclusive or fairly obvious that it's not conclusive at the end of Part 2. Like I still have to make the finale, and I'll hate to disappoint people after that, but there won't be a Part 4 because that'll be the end.
I could already hear them say heresy and getting their gravity hammers ready.
Yeah. So maybe Part 0 will open some more doors. Like I can do more backstory episodes for more characters.
Right on. Wow. And I'm trying to remember here because when I saw that first part, it looked old, but it was still well animated and stuff. When was that made?
That was made, I think, mostly 2015, little 2014, and a little 2016. I think mostly 2015 and 16, because I uploaded it like the Saturday before I started college. And then, as you said, it is very old. It's very rough around the edges. It hasn't aged too well, but there are some scenes in there that I still really like.
So about 60. It's 16 years old. Holy crap, that is amazing.
It's 16? You say 16?
I think so. I can't really do math in my head, but let's see. 2015.
That's 6 years old.
6 years old, my bad.
Yeah.
Carried down the one, goddammit.
A little bit off there. Carried the one,
off by 10 years. But yeah,
Close
so
enough,
6
though.
years old. Okay, wow. And that is just proof that stop motion has the potential to be something like it for blockbusters in Hollywood. If it's stuck well enough with an audience for that long, that people are demanding more of it.
Yeah.
That's just proof that stop motion has a place in Hollywood. And like you said, it is kind of criminal that we don't have that much movies with that art style. But I can definitely name a good couple of films that they're underground, sadly, but I feel like people would actually appreciate them. Let me see what I think is Child and the Wolf. That was one of them. I forgot the small studio that made it. But it's about this kid who lives in a cabin with his pet goose, and they're just they keep being harassed by this wolf who wants to eat the goose. I'm like, holy crap, okay. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's definitely one of those stop motion gems that are really good. Another
the Shepherd
one,
Boy and the Wolf?
I think so. I think that's the name. Yeah.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, it's really good. I saw it many years ago. Way before I got into the whole stop motion craze, actually. I rented it from a library one day, and I was like, oh, okay, this looks weird. Let's check it out. And, yeah, I saw it, I liked it, and I just moved on from my life. But when I got back into stop motion, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I've seen this years ago. So, yeah, I looked way more into it. It's a very interesting story. It's definitely one of those, like, YouTube short film vibes.
Yeah.
Another one I'm trying to remember. I think it's My Friend Mac or Marion Mac. It's from France. Marion Mac. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I haven't seen it yet, but I've been told it will make you feel, and I'll leave it at that. I just looking at the frames and everything. I refuse to see it because I'm a crybaby and I feel like I'll connect with it too much. But it's definitely an interesting story. It's about a completely socially awkward man named Mac, who has an online pen pal named Mary, who's a 12-year-old kid, and they've never met, but it's just like relentlessly mean to this poor guy. He's just trying to find his place in the world and everything. He's like, damn! But it's done very well. Like, everything from, like, just the character's design to the background, you get the whole vibe of what this world is kind of like and how mean it is. It's really good.
Yeah. I've heard of that one, too.
Oh, yeah. Again, I refuse to see it because I'm probably going to connect with it too much. But it's definitely one of those stop-motion films I feel like most people should see. Another one, and this came back a long, I think like 2-3 years ago now. It's been a long while. We've been indoors most of the time. Isle of Dogs. That was the same guy who made Fantastic Mr. Fox. I just got done seeing it a few months back. Really good film. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
I still have to sit down and watch that one too. My backlog is getting longer by the day, I swear.
Yeah. As a summary, I definitely recommend you see it. It is well done. It has that same Fantastic Mr. Fox vibe, but it actually gets kind of dark. I'm not gonna lie.
I've seen a bunch of the behind the scenes footage, like that shot with the nuclear blast. I got choked up watching these guys work.
You're gonna look. I don't know if you've seen it though. Well, one of the behind scene videos that they released was the sushi making scene. That was insane. For those of you listening, the story behind is that there's a scene in the movie Isle of Dogs where these guys took about 2 years, a group of 12 stop motion animators, took the time to animate this one segment of the scene where we're looking at the perspective of the chef making breakfast for a guy, right? But it's so beautifully well animated that it took 2 years and the combined effort of 12 animators to pull off. And it's just insane. And then I hear a similar story with Laika and Paranorman, I think it was. The scene where Norman is in the bathroom stall and the toilet paper forms monsters and everything. That was another scene that was only a few seconds long that took about 2 years. And it just makes me think, like, wow, so if stop motion is going to be that complicated, just imagine, like, the whole film being like that. The more intricate the scene, the longer the years it's going to be. But it's all worth it just to see those beautiful few seconds of animation.
That's the main reason that I think the medium hasn't taken off as well as any other kind of animation. It's so long, and there are so few people who are willing to do it.
We are keeping it alive. We are keeping it alive through bringing toys to life and making them fight each other to the death. Speaking of which, let me see. I'm going to look through the list here. Okay, here's a good one. Now, going back to how you met Forrest Fire Films, another fellow animator online. Can you name off the top of your head a few other YouTube stop-motion animators? And if so, what was their influence to you?
Oh boy. Okay. First big one that comes to mind is Kubers. Unfortunately, I don't think he's active anymore. I don't know where that guy is now. I think he's got a job with Lego doing something. I'm not sure if it's even animation, but he's best known for his brick films based on video games. My favorite was always Battle of the Brick. It's a 20-minute long Halo Red versus Blue capture the flag video.
I just realized who you're talking about. He did make that. Wow. He left?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing now. Last big thing he made, I think, was a Pacific Rim short. Might have been something after that. It's been a while since he's been active, though. I'm not sure where he went. I miss that guy because he was incredibly talented. So he's one of the big ones. There's Forrest, of course. What? Hang on, it's like Spidey 18 something. Let me look this up. Okay, he has a long form film called Bionicle: The Storm of Fatality. It's part of a longer series with where he takes Bionicle characters and just tells an original story with them. Okay, Spidey 406. That's his name, Spidey 406. And this is a long running series that's. I assume it's over now. Looks like it was like 10 years in the making. Like, you can see his skills slowly growing through each episode. Looks like he's moved on to 3D animation since, though. So that was a big inspiration for me. More recently, there's Barnaby Dixon, who a lot of you might know as the guy with the little raptor puppet.
Yes, I actually came across him many years ago, I think, around 2017. Remember that old stop motion he did with the white-headed robot dude and everything?
Escos, that was it.
Yes, that was the one I saw.
That was one of the coolest videos I've ever seen. That was deeply inspirational for me. There are some more recent guys who I just keep seeing new tricks they're coming up with, like new mega constructs, mega blocks animators, like Bad Lax and Stop Mobro, and oh man, who's the third one? Who's the third one? Axiology Studios. That's it. There's more of them. I have a longer video where I talk about some of my favorite new mega constructs animators, but these guys, they're pretty much all kids, teenagers, and they're doing stuff that I never even thought of, and it is genuinely inspiring to me. I see their videos, these people who have been doing this for half the time I have, and I'm like, oh man, I want my stuff to look that good, I'll have to hit you with a list once this is over, because I have a video where I shouted them all out, but I can't remember them off the top of my head right now.
Oh, sure thing. I will definitely shout them out as well on here as well. Okay, this is more going to be like a lightning round, so we're just going to
Okay.
go one at a time with these. Real quick, can you name me 3 stop-motion shows that were actually on television that you recall?
Well, I know Robot Chicken, I know Modoc, and stop motion show. Think A Town Called Panic aired on TV. That's a French stop motion series.
Oh, that's probably why I never heard of it. It's French.
Mm.
I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
wait, I
really
don't
cool
remember
stuff.
that. Let me look this up real quick. Town Called Panic.
Yeah, it's real good stuff. It's like it uses a little cowboy and Indian figurine, like with a little plastic base, no articulation or anything. They just use replacement animation for a few different poses.
Okay, here's a good one. When you were starting stop-motion animation, what was the most challenging lesson that you had to master? Like, was it a struggle to learn how to properly animate it through the frames? Was it a struggle to figure out how to edit out rigs? What was the biggest thing you struggled with that you had to master?
Um, okay, I think. All right, this is something I'm still trying to work out. Uh, all I ever wanted to do was fight scenes, so that's what I got really good at. But as a result, I'm also relatively inexperienced with like character acting and dialogue. So I did a lot of that on Robot Chicken. So I've got some good practice in, but it's still something that kind of challenges me because I don't want to do it as much as I want to just make people punch each other. But that specific mode of animation, just the quiet, subtle stuff, that's where I struggle the most, I think.
Wow, so basically like the rest of us. Okay, wow. I honestly didn't expect that out of you. Okay. Because in my opinion, when you said that, I was thinking like, well, you did good. You did better than I would when it came to like The Sky Below. The way that you got away with, minimal dialogue. You let the scene, the lighting, and the character's behavior tell the story and what's going on and what the character's thinking. That was good. I can't even do that shit.
Oh, thank you very much for that.
Yeah. I remember when I was watching your behind the scenes, I was like, you're kidding me.
Mhm.
I had no idea the amount of influence lighting in a scene could be.
Mhm. Mhm.
How I learned how to shoot scenes and cinematography, basically, I actually learned from Film Riot. They're a independent film group I follow on YouTube. And they were there's this one video where they're talking about lighting, camera angles, and such. And the same thing with me. I can't. To this day, I'm actually practicing right now with a project that I'm working on. I could never really get down like what I'm calling it pacing. Because I noticed for like some stop motion animators, I think the best example I could give you is probably Moonshine Animations.
Yes.
Very talented guy, really good stuff. He basically takes Figmas, and these are basically just Japanese figures. They are well made, well articulated, and he makes a legit story out of them. I think one of my favorites from his earlier days is definitely Wolf and Kitten. It's just kind of like this post-apocalyptic world where there's this hunter looking for his next big game, and he ends up protecting this little girl, like she has cat ears, a Neko or whatever. And I won't spoil it. It's been out for years now, so it's not really much of a spoiler. But for those who haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you check it out. And it's just really cool. He really knows how to convey the characters' personalities and behaviors just from like their expressions alone. And it's stuff like that I struggle with because even right now with the project I'm working on, I'm trying to utilize more like dialogue, pacing shots. Because the last project I made, it was actually kind of a tribute animation to Moonshine. It was called Western Rust, and it's kind of like loosely based in the world that he created that he calls Shrapnel. Metal as hell, by the way. And looking back at it, I noticed how kind of sloppy it is. The action was cool, the pacing was fine, but I definitely struggled, to me at least, in terms of like animating enough to where you could actually see the characters. I kind of did like shortcuts to where I just kind of had it still frame for a bit, but it felt too short. It felt too short, and the story was a bit sloppily told. It sounded better in my head. It looked good on paper. But when I tried to animate it, it was like, crap, how do I make this convincing like he does? So I've been studying up how to like cinematography, shit like that. So yeah, I could definitely see where you're coming from in terms of like giving personality to the characters, pacing the story, leading to the action, and continuing a story that just hooks the attention of the viewer. So I totally get that. It is definitely a struggle. I'm struggling with it.
If I could give some general advice to listeners, everyone. Okay, so you will naturally, if you're a stop motion animator listening to this, you will naturally be practicing stop motion constantly, and that's just something you'll get better at as you do it. There's really no other way. You can look up better animation tutorials and the principles and all that, but beyond just personal experience, there's not much else that you can do. Meanwhile, what I benefit the most from is studying film and storytelling, because that's something that people don't often consider as animators. It's you're working for someone else, you're telling someone else's stories, but if you want to make original films, then they need to be good films, not just good animation. So your advice for like Film Riot, that's an excellent recommendation. But more than that, there's channels like The Closer Look and Hello Future Me that just talk about writing, and stuff like that is excellent for like character development and how to efficiently give characters dialogue that'll characterize them and tell you their personalities and motivations in like a few lines. There's like long form video essay analysis videos of video games, movies, books. And those will give you an idea of how to properly structure a story. Even the ones that are like an hour-long rant about how bad this movie is, like that's a lesson in what not to do, and things like that. And even beyond storytelling, you get to directing, lighting, camera angles, composition, shot-to-shot progression, editing. It's like that stuff is absolutely critical, and that's kind of what I lean on. Like you notice that in The Sky Below. I didn't do much unique character acting with him, and when I did, it was like the focus of the shot. And for the most part, I let the scene composition and atmosphere tell the story. And that's something that is extremely important to me, because I see myself not just as an animator, but a director too. And that's as important as having good animation. You got to be able to tell a story well.
That's right. That is definitely right. And again, for those of you listening right now, definitely check out Mootroid's behind the scenes to get a more in-depth look at how that is. He goes way into like it's, again, I can't stress this enough. I had no idea how a big part lighting plays and selling the scene. When you pointed it out to me on the video, I was like, holy crap, you know what? That's a good point. The ominous green for the room where the that tree monster was in. And the orange lighting, it's dim, but it's bright enough, and it just leads the way as he's traveling through the caverns. Lighting in itself is something I try to utilize. You'll actually see it in my last short film. I don't call it a short film, but my last animation, Western Rust, you'll actually see that in the action scene. There's a scene where Patriot, the main character, he infiltrates a Fortnite base, and yes, it has Fortnite guys in it. He shoots a rocket into the room, and at first the room is just regularly lit. There's a generator center, but when he fires the rocket into the base, the lighting changes to a very harsh red. And it was simple, but it was like the simple idea of like saying, "Oh crap, shit's about to go down," and then the action ensues. But yeah, definitely stuff like that. Films especially. A matter of fact, it's funny you mentioned that, because I just got done watching a Nostalgia Critic. I can't talk. A Nostalgia Critic video of him, one of his recent reviews, Roger Rabbit, and he goes way into depth about the cinematography, especially like the whole idea of film, the cinematography, the story it tells, the reasons why the things are in the scenes, or why they focus on those shots. I was like, damn, okay, so I definitely gotta touch up on that. Animation in its purest form is always just going to be visual storytelling. And if you really want to improve on that, studying other avenues, it will actually give you a better idea on how to do that. For me especially, and this was partially my ignorance, but when I started in stop motion, I always thought it was always different from like 2D animation. And of course, yeah, I mean, one is like bringing objects to life, the other one is like bringing objects to life through a pencil. But they share similar aspects in terms of like going about bringing the animation to life. I haven't really gotten the book yet, but I actually have seen some snippets online of the Animator Survival Toolkit book. It is the most recommended book ever for a beginning animator, hand drawing, CGI, or stop motion like us. And it goes into like, for example, the animating a character. You can really get away with not that much dialogue and just really conveying how the character is through the animation alone. Now in stop motion we're kind of limited, especially working with figures. We can only work so much as like the articulation allows, but you can definitely get away with a lot in terms of like say, oh, this character will move a certain way from this character, crap like that.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, stop motion is definitely one of those trickier avenues in terms of like cinematography. But like Mootroid said, with enough practice, you'll definitely master it. It just takes a long ass time. I started back in 2015, still learning now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the things I love about it is that there's a new problem to solve every shot you're working on. So I never stop learning and solving problems and puzzles. I just love that about it.
Yeah, and then bringing back what you mentioned before about the newer animators, they're kids that are starting out, and they did stuff that you wish you did when you started. It's interesting that you pointed it out because I remember I think it was your second behind the scenes video when you shouted out all those other fellow Construct animators.
Right, yes.
I saw one of them. This kid was clever with it. He used he made a bit where the Spartan was teleporting, and everything was practical. He used transparent bricks to simulate him teleporting. It's like, holy crap, that is smart. Wow. When I did something similar like that with one of my older animations, where the character would just like disappear out of one frame and reappear in another. But this kid made it physically there and still conveyed the idea like this guy's zipping and teleporting around the room. I'm like, wow, that is smart. I wish I thought of that. So yeah, that is awesome. It's awesome to see that stop motion, as underground as it is still around and known. And most people would say, oh, it's just Robot Chicken stuff. But to us, the guys who actually dabble in it, will see it more of like, definitely it's evolving. And it's always awesome to see that.
Yeah, I'm always excited whenever there's like a new young animator coming on screen and like, oh wow, he's better than me. Like that's kind of a great feeling,
It is. It's proof that stop motion, as underground as it is, will always be around and it'll always keep growing. Closing it real quick with one last question.
Yep.
If you were to ever make a stop motion film, what would it be?
Oh boy. It would probably be a Sky Below feature film because I have so many ideas for where that story is going to go, and I have no idea if I'll ever have the budget or the time to do it. But that's something that'll always be like flitting around in my head, and I am praying that I'll get the chance to bring it out someday. But that's what I would do. Out of curiosity, what would you do?
Me? This is a bit ambitious, but I've always thought of doing this ever since I started. But I really want to try my hand in making, and again, this was probably around the time when Avengers came out, I want to try my hand at making a cinematic universe in the stop motion animation style. An example being one of the stories, it's set in like the post-apocalypse, but there's like these two warring sides, but then there's a third one that comes out of nowhere that's way stronger than both of them. So the first two have to work together to get rid of the third one. I'll keep it as vague as that on purpose because it's definitely been sitting in the back of my mind. You know those stories you have in the back of your head, like, damn, this would be really good. I should write this down, but you don't. But it's at least still there in your head.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I have so many ideas for films that I want to try making someday in my life. But till then, you know, I'm actually content with, you know, what I have going on now. You know, I have a growing community. I've been very active in the stop motion Discord servers, funny enough. In fact, I think you follow one of them, Panza Hat, I believe.
Oh yeah, Panza Hat. Love that guy.
Funny story with them. They're don't get me wrong, Panza Hat's a cool cat. I've actually spoken to him a couple of times. It's just that his community in there is definitely tween, rude little shit kind of community.
Yeah,
but they're kids, so I can't be too mad at them. But you know, it's just interesting to see. Another one you might actually know of. You know, he works with Legos primarily. But do you remember a animator named Slotborg?
I do not.
Okay. How am I supposed to say? He's not as well known, but he's definitely way better than me. I mean, the guy has like 100,000 subs already, but he's another talented animator. And his community, I could definitely say, is way more chill compared to Panza Hats. But yeah, it's just nice to see the encounter fellow animators occasionally and hear what ideas they have for their stories.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, sadly, it is 3:14 p.m. for me right now. It has already been an hour and 15, so we shall cut it from here. Mootroid, closing thoughts.
Well, mainly just, you know, this has been really cool. Thank you for reaching out to me to do this, because I would not have thought to otherwise. It's not something I get to do frequently. I really appreciate you letting me like get some thoughts out and like share some of your own thoughts too. Anything helping get more information onto the internet, more accessible to new animators. I love it. So just, yeah, thank you very much. It's extremely cool.
Hey, no problem, and I'm completely honored that you actually said yes. I've reached out to so many successful stop-motion animators. Most of them said they would love to, but they're too busy. Matter of fact, DGX, do you know of him?
Oh, yeah, we do talk sometimes.
You talk to him? Oh, okay,
yeah.
Lucky. Because I actually, I reached out to him before you, and he said he'd love to, but he ended up sending me recordings. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's just that, to me, for a podcast, it's way more relatable to have, like, actually be speaking to the person I'm interviewing.
Yeah, I'd rather have a conversation.
But I appreciate him sending me the recordings. It was actually nice of him to do that. But yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for agreeing to come on here. I know I'm not as professional, but you know what? It's passable. Again, like you said, it's cool to like talk to a fellow animator, talk about styles and inspirations and shit, and just getting information out there for other aspiring animators and people who are not even animators. They at least like to listen to the perspective of the guys who make the animations.
Yeah.
So yeah, deeply appreciate that. And again, listeners, if you guys are interested to check out his stuff, I'm leaving a link and end card to his channel at the end of this video and in the description below. And definitely gonna get the list of those other animators you recommended to me, and I'll link them as well. Because again, stop motion in this day and age is definitely growing a lot more than how it used to be back in 2015. I cannot stress that enough. Me and him know this. We were there for that shit. But yeah, very cool. Very cool. So with that all being said, guys, thank you very much for stopping by and listening to us rant for a whole hour about stop motion. Yeah, that will do for now. That will do. We will see you guys next time. Peace.
All right. Farewell.